I'm sure you've seen Muslims beating their chests and proudly, boastfully showing you the photos of some white converts, and they say Islam is the fastest growing religion, when in reality we know it's the fastest breeding religion. In a country of millions of people, if a few thousand people convert to Islam, it's no big deal, especially when we know that most of those people who do convert to Islam, most of those white people who convert to Islam, they end up leaving Islam anyway. So I'm sure you've seen these videos of these people. Look at this clown.
Islam will enter every house. No house will be left untouched. This is the promise of Allah.
As if the promise of a non-existent entity matters. As if we need to care about that. Look at this. I'm sure you've seen all these videos. Look at these smug faces of these people, and I'm telling you how hollow they are. I've got numbers.
We are the messengers of the messenger.
Ooh.
We are the representative of this deen of Islam.
Ooh.
We have to be the solution.
What good examples. Look at them. Look at them. Their behavior should repulse everyone. Their behavior should drive everyone away from Islam.
Future is ours.
No, it's not.
Every ideal nightmare of a Muslim Europe will come true.
No, it won't.
They can be as mad as they want.
We're not mad. We just know it's not going to happen.
I don't care.
We don't care either, because it ain't going to happen. What's going to happen is that you're going to radicalize a lot of people, and they're going to grab you, and then they're going to deport you, and then you're going to say, oh, Islamophobia, this is so racist. These people are scared of Islam, when in reality, you're provoking them. And I can't wait for that moment, guys. I really can't wait for that moment.
America will be a Muslim country. Russia will be a Muslim country.
That might
Islam
happen.
will enter every house. We have to be a part of that change.
Oh.
We have to be a part of that da'wah.
Self-importance. These people thrive on that because they have to find some sort of a mission. You know, this guy used to be a gangster or something, and I think he staged a fake attack on himself. I actually sent all my condolences to you. I sent him good wishes. I've debated with him once, and man, this guy made an absolute fool of himself. Unfortunately, that debate is in Urdu, because he's of Pakistani origin, like me, but I'm obviously the good one.
We have to be a part of those ghuraba who stand firm on our aqidah and our practice and our deen, and never, ever apologize.
Ooh.
We're unapologetic. Never, ever compromise.
This is what I love about them. This is the reason why I am so confident that these people are never going to win. Even if our numbers dwindle, these people are never going to win, because they can't help themselves. They will always defend their prophet's abhorrent, atrocious, terroristic behavior. He himself said that Islam is a religion of terrorism. He actually said it too. I played it in one of my other videos. They will always defend child marriage, polygamy, misogyny, homophobia, hatred for infidels. They will always defend that, which is the reason why evil cannot flourish. It just cannot flourish. That's why even in Muslim countries, you know, most Muslim countries don't have Sharia, even though most Muslims themselves say that they want Sharia in their country. But when the push comes to shove, they don't vote Islamists in. They don't. They voted the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt after the revolution, and then they immediately said, oh, we want Sharia, but not that kind of Sharia. It's so lame.
We're uncompromised.
Anyway, so they're not compromised. Okay, well, here's what I wanted to share with you. Islam's way of converting people is very subversive. It has only one intention, which is to destroy the native culture or the existing system and create soldiers for Allah so they can establish Sharia. Most white people are sold the rosy picture of Islam, and this is the reason why the rate of apostasy amongst white converts is very high. They don't come out because they're not brown. They can easily go back to their old way of life, and they can go back to their family members and whatnot. But you see a lot of white converts who are in the process of converting to or deconverting to Islam. So let me show you a shining example of that. Let me introduce you to the most famous ex-Muslim in the world. He's not an activist, he's not a professor, he's not an academic, he's not an agitator, but he is the most famous ex-Muslim in the world. Have a listen to this story. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Terrence Howard, who is an ex-Muslim. By the way, every non-Muslim is an ex-Muslim because according to Muslims, every person is born a Muslim, but it's their parents or their society that makes them Christian or Buddhist or Hindu or an atheist. So by that logic, every non-Muslim is an ex-Muslim. Isn't that amazing? They don't love good logic.
My father was a Muslim.
Oh,
He was a Muslim.
My father was a
How
Muslim.
about your mother?
My mother was a Baptist.
And was he a practicing Muslim?
Yeah, he's a practicing
was.
Muslim. Mm-hmm.
So
He became a Muslim when he went to prison. So
did you ever become a Muslim?
see how subversive it is? How manipulative that is? Either people who are suffering from some sort of a mental disorder, depression, anxiety, they're not happy with their way of life, if they were abused or something. So Muslims go, especially women. Women are the easy target. Or black men in prison. They're an easy target as well. So they convert them. There is a reason why certain cultures are more, certain types of people are more open to converting to Islam. There's a reason why, and it's annoyed for the life of me, guys. I cannot work out what is it about gingers. Every second, not even second, every 1.1 white Muslim convert you look at, he's a ginger. I don't know what that is. Why is there some sort of racism towards gingers in white communities? Because they hate their own upbringing, they hate their own culture and society, and they convert to Islam. It's the same with other vulnerable people too. I would say they're vulnerable. Islam always goes for the most vulnerable people, but that vulnerability runs out eventually. I have a playlist of ex-Muslims. I have interviewed a couple of white converts as well, who became ex-Muslims later on, but they are no longer public. But because, as I said, they just go back to their own way of life. They're not living with a constant sword hanging over their heads like us ex-Muslims. So that's why we are more passionate about exposing Islam, and we say, you know what? We have an added responsibility to tell the world about the dangers of Islam. Sorry, I wouldn't interrupt again. Let's start again.
My father was a Muslim.
He was a Muslim.
My father was a
How
Muslim.
about your mother?
My mother was a Baptist.
And was he a practicing Muslim?
Yeah, he's a practicing
was.
Muslim. Mm-hmm.
So
He became a Muslim when he went to prison. So
did you ever become a Muslim yourself?
Yes, my name was Suleiman.
Oh,
You know, practiced a lot, did all of that.
For how long?
practice salat, not a lot. Salat is, like that's what Muslims do. They're praying, heads on the ground, palms in the air. And the guy behind gets the best seat in the house. A full view of the ass in front of him. Why didn't I just leave Islam because of its sheer stupidity? Why did I read so much philosophy and looked into, deep intellectual reasons to leave Islam? It's just, you just leave Islam by just looking at what the hell are you doing? Why are you banging your head on the wall or on the ground 50 times a day? Yeah, I know they pray 5 times a day, but they bang their head about, I don't know, on average 10 times per salat.
Practiced a lot, did all of that
For how long?
up until I was 13.
Up
Ooh.
until 13, you're Muslim.
Mhm.
And then
Smart
how
man.
did you walk away from it?
I've talked about this before, but there was a day I came home and all of the brothers from the mosque was over at the house, and there was this brother, Yaqub, very kind, loved his scent, loved his nature, but apparently he had castrated a wino, a homeless person, for urinating on the
Mosque.
mosque.
Oh, wow.
He castrated him
Castrated him.
and
He cut off someone's dick. That's how violent these people are. There's a saying in Urdu, I'm going to butcher it because, when you translate an adage into English, it loses its meaning, but hopefully you'll get it. So in Urdu, in Pakistani culture, they treat elephant's tusk as teeth. So there's a saying that says that an elephant has different teeth for display and different for chewing, meaning, you have 2 faces. You have to have 2 faces. That's the thing with these people. They may sound sound very nice and polite to you. They present a very nice, kind face, but if you press certain buttons, the civility, the kindness goes out the window. There was a video of a Muslim man pretending to be very nice, just like this, very nice. Hey, brother, come here, let me talk to you. And then this brother was a cheeky guy. He was an American guy, and he said, "Hey, you know what? Muhammad is. I named my dog Muhammad," and then he just instantly jumped. He pounced on him, started beating the hell out of him. So that's basically what he's saying. I can't find that video, but if you see these really nice, smiling Muslims, like, "Hey, come here, brother, we love you," don't fall for it. Just bring up Muhammad and see how peaceful he is.
He's sharing the story with you? He's
And
telling, or everybody knew?
everybody's around. Like 13 of the brothers from the mosque are there because Yaqub has been arrested, and they're talking about that. And they were sitting. The conversation was, well, he shouldn't have,
Urinated.
he shouldn't have.
Castrated.
Well, he shouldn't have. What is the term?
Urinated.
Desecrate. That was it.
Oh, look
He
at
shouldn't have desecrated the holy temple by urinating on the mosque. That was what they were talking about. They weren't talking about the fact that this young man or older gentleman was also a child of God that may have been lost. And I was like, that, it was so.
Good morals. Good morals, guys. Good morals. In fact, it actually reminds me of a story. There was an Arab guy, non-Muslim guy, in the time of Muhammad. He peed against a mosque, and Muhammad actually forgave him. You wouldn't hear me tell you nice stories of Muhammad because there are not that many, but if there is, I'll tell you one. There is actually a story of a non-Muslim guy who urinated in front of the mosque, and Muhammad just forgave him. Look at that. So this is pathetic. He's got good morals, Terrence.
Severe.
You're overhearing this conversation?
Yes.
Or you're in
I'm
the
sitting,
conversation?
no, I'm in the stairs and they're in the living room.
So you're not part of the conversation
No.
the 13 men are having?
I'm just listening.
Got it.
And it could have been 12, but it felt like
A lot.
all the seats were taken up. And so at that moment, I started questioning Islam in that regard because the God of love, I couldn't see that happening.
Fair enough, guys. Fair enough. Those of you who don't know, I wrote a book called The Curse of God, Why I Left Islam, in which I describe 3 reasons for leaving Islam. Number 1, first of all, there is no evidence for any supernatural deity. Of course, Christians and people of other God believers would disagree with that, which is perfectly fine. I am not as militant about my atheism as I used to be when I wrote that book nearly 10 years ago. But reason number 2 is the science in Islam. Sound, does it make sense? No. Muhammad flew to heaven on a winged donkey. Muhammad split the moon. I mean, his knowledge of science was exactly what you would expect from a man of the 7th century. But worst of all, the biggest reason of all of those reasons, when I look back, it might not be in that order, but right now, the morality of Islam, that alone is enough for any sane person to leave Islam. Kind of like what Terrence did. Now, some Muslims will argue that, Harris, you also know that even Muhammad forgave a person for desecrating, for urinating in front of a mosque. But no, Muhammad encouraged extrajudicial killing of blasphemers. Let me read you a story. He may have forgiven that guy who urinated in front of the mosque, but Muhammad defended extrajudicial killings of blasphemers. So have a listen to this story. Sunan Nasai, this is Sahih Hadith. There was a blind man during the time of Muhammad who had an Walad, by whom he had 2 sons. So you could have children with slaves, with slave girls, but now you couldn't sell them without their kids. So basically you couldn't separate. What a kind religion, Muslims will tell you as a virtuous teaching of Islam. So if you have kids with a sex slave, then you cannot sell her. So he had this sex slave with whom he had 2 kids, two sons. She used to slander and defame Muhammad a great deal, and he would rebuke her, but she would not pay heed. He would forbid her to do that, but she ignored him. The blind man, this guy's a blind man, by the way. One night, I mentioned the Prophet, and she slandered him. She would have said, well, the guy married a 9-year-old girl, the guy murdered so many Jews, who knows? No free speech in Islam. I could not bear it, so I went and got a dagger, which I thrust into her stomach and leaned upon it and killed her. Now, you got to remember, this is his account. So he could have killed her for whatever reason. But he knew this. He knew that, let me just flatter Muhammad. So in the morning, she was found slain. Mention of that was made to Muhammad, and he gathered the people and said, I adjure by Allah a man over whom I have the right that he should obey me. And he did what he did to stand up. The blind man started to tremble and said, oh, Messenger of Allah, I am the one who killed her. She was my Walad, and she was kind and gentle toward me. And I have 2 sons like pearls from her. But she used to slander and defame you a great deal, Muhammad. See, flattery. She was nice to me, I had no problems with her, but look how much I love you, dear Muhammad. She used to slander you. I forbade her. I told her to stop, and I rebuked her, but she did not pay heed. Finally, I mentioned your name, and she slandered you again. So I went up and got a dagger, which I thrust into her stomach and leaned on it until I killed her. The messenger of Allah, the most merciful, the most just, the greatest man ever known to mankind, said, I bear witness that her blood is permissible. So what does that mean, guys? So every time a lipstick Muslim tells you that, oh no, Islam forbids extrajudicial killing, respect the law of the land, blah, blah, blah. Even other Muslims around that person, they thought that, oh, he's going to get punished for murdering a person, a mother of his children of all people. But no, Muhammad said, oh, did she insult me? Oh, my ego is hurt. Kill her. That's okay. So that is the nature of Islam. It is completely arbitrary. That's why if Muhammad was kind to a person who urinated in front of a mosque, this is what Muslims do. They cherry pick those good examples and they present them as, look how kind Islam is. It ain't. It's totally arbitrary. It's totally random. And it was on the whims of Muhammad. Let me play you this video because a lot of Muslims are actually leaving Islam because of that. Because the internet is showing the ugly face of Islam. Have a look at this. This survey was done back in 2018 and 2019. Look at this. In 2013, nearly 12% of the Tunisian population did not believe in, well, they were not religious. That number has increased to 30. Libyans has gone up from 8% to 25%. Algeria, every country you look at is gone up except for Lebanon. Morocco, that's gone from 3% to 12%. Egypt has gone from 2-3% to 10%. Sudan, even Sudan, Palestinian territories, you can understand why they are not becoming ex-Muslims or less religious, because obviously they're in a state of conflict, and in those conditions people tend to become more religious. They become more inward looking. The only survey we have, because a lot of people say that most ex-Muslims are becoming Christian. Now I don't know, there is no evidence, there's no statistical evidence of that, but I would be lying if I said that no, they're all becoming atheists. That's not true either, because and I don't see that as a loss at all. Even being an atheist, I don't see that as a loss. If ex-Muslims become Christians, I don't care. I actually would prefer them to become Christians than stay Muslim. Here's a Pew survey that was done back in 2015. Here's this comment. Fewer than a quarter of adults in all countries analyzed who were raised Muslims no longer identify as Muslim. The most famous one of those being the US, where 23% of Muslims who were raised as Muslims in America are no longer Muslims. So that's, nearly a quarter of American Muslims are no longer Muslims. And it's more or less the same in other countries as well. Most who have left Islam either no longer identify with any religion, i.e. they identify religiously as atheist, agnostic, or nothing in particular, or now identify as Christians. So a lot of ex-Muslims are becoming Christians thanks to the services of David Wood and others. Obviously, apostate prophet has also converted to Christianity. He also identifies himself as a Christian. So these things are happening, guys. There's one more video. Let me play you this video. Let's have a listen to this.
Been getting wind of mass conversions from the Islamic world to Christianity. Have you heard of that? Is that being overplayed?
I'll tell you one thing, it's underplayed. I don't think people realize how many Muslims are becoming Christian. I know personally at least 100 people.
Wow, just you alone know about 100 people.
They're everywhere. Number one thing
I know about 200 ex-Muslims who are actually atheists.
Is dreams and visions.
I'm hearing that. You had a dream.
I had a dream with Jesus. Every ex-Muslim, I would say 50 to 70% of them explain to me it's always like Jesus or an angel, but 9 times out of 10 is Jesus saying something either very specific, like go to this store, meet this man, talk to him, he will tell you the truth.
Oh my goodness.
Or something like I am the son of Allah, like something like that. Like
I never got Jesus in my dreams. Jesus doesn't want to enter my mind though. Again, this is not a diss, and we're not dissing on these people. As I said, I would rather have these people convert to Christianity than remain Muslims. And to be honest, I'm very disappointed by ex-Muslim atheists themselves, because they're very pro-pally. They're mostly wokes. They are very dogmatic and radical in their atheism, and they just unnecessarily pick fights with Christians. I hate that. I don't like that. So I'm not going to defend my tribe.
Something so profound.
Yeah.
Mine was just him on the cross, because that's what I needed. And these people, when they're having these dreams, because Jesus is a person in Islam, they're realizing he's not a prophet. Even if the dream is just him like smiling at them, there's something about the encounter.
That Christ is more than a prophet.
There's something different about him. He's not just a prophet.
Yeah.
And these Muslims, they're flocking to Christianity.
So it's happening. So remember the video I started with? That smug Muslim, Sheikh Uthman, I think his name is. His name was actually Usman, but he Arabized it and made it Uthman. He's not an Arab, but he dresses like an Arab. I guess he would say, Harris, you're not indigenously Western, but you dress like a Western man. Anyway, moot point. But no, they will tell you that they're winning, they're gaining ground, and at some level, it may even look like that because, you know, in the world of billions of people, a few thousand photographs of white converts, that is nothing. It's not even a drop in the ocean. So don't worry about that. They're not going to win. Most people are converting. A lot of Muslims, a sizable chunk of Muslims is leaving Islam, either for Christianity or atheism. So they ain't winning.